Welcome back, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Gare Bear Review. Today, we're going to go larger than life and go into Jack the Giant Slayer, directed by Bryan Singer, who's actually done a couple films. He's directed a lot of great ones. You have X-Men and 1 and 2. You have Superman Returns, which kind of sucked. Valkyrie, which was amazing. And he's now doing the next X-Men film, Days of Future Past. So we're going to have a good run here. Alright, the storyline, well, apparently Hollywood has spawned another great fantasy film here, basing off another child's story. I'm saying another because before a month or so ago, Hansel and Gretel came out, and this is no exception. This is a really good storyline. It starts off like the story we all know and love. The uncle sends out Jack to sell his horse, at least in this version. It's not a cow this time. But he comes back with beans, magic beans. But there's a twist in this story. The beans need to be protected because apparently there's a horde of giants who want revenge from back in the day. I enjoyed the storyline a lot. It gave this children's story a good kick in the pants that it needed. Not to say that it needed it, but as an adult now, or in parentheses there, I do enjoy a more involved, more adult storylines to children's stories that I've seen in the past, and so it doesn't really differentiate from the story. We already know, so that's why I loved it. It stayed to one fact that Jack had the beans and he needed to protect them, which I loved. So I enjoyed this film so much that because it's an homage to a children's story, as I watched it, it poked a few tidbits from that story, which made it even more enjoyable to watch. I'm serious. I love this film from beginning to end. Although in the beginning, for like the first 10 minutes, it was like a freaking Dr. Seuss story. It was it was very weird. Well, it was only because the storylines of Jack and Isabel, um, they're separate until obviously until they converge into into one storyline over time. But when they're separate, they show individually. Apparently, they show what their life is like. Jack is in the slums basically, and like Isabel's like the hierarchy because she's a royal. But apparently it rhymes because they're reading the story of basically of Jack and the Beanstalk basically, but like a completely different version. It's basically how this king got a crown and he can control. He made the crown out of a giant's heart, and he was able to take control of the giants and send them to back where they came from, basically up the beanstalk. And apparently the book is a fucking Dr. Seuss story, so it ended up rhyming. So it got kind of annoying, but it was funny, so I let it go. I mean, who doesn't love a good Dr. Seuss story? Am I right? Yeah, right? Yeah. My only one problem here was that they portrayed him as a slayer. I mean, it's in the title, but he only killed two giants, which in my book that's not even a killer, but it really didn't make any sense. But when you add add the castings of Nicholas Hoult, who was just great in Warm Bodies. I really liked him in this role he plays. He plays awkward very well. But the thing is, I don't like his face. Yeah, I mean, I end up laughing at him half the time because he has this weird tooth overbite thing that he does. Like I really don't understand it, but it makes me laugh, and you have to really watch him when you see it because he's in Warm Bodies and this right now. I think he's done something else before it, but I would definitely check him out and see what I'm talking about. And then it distracted me from his acting, which kind of pissed me off because he's a decent actor. But when you add the beautiful Eleanor Tomlinson, who you probably know from The Illusionist and Alice in Wonderland, and not to mention Mr. Ewan McGregor, we all know, and of course Stanley Tucci, who was just brilliant. I freaking love him. And there were so many others that you'll definitely recognize throughout the film. I don't want to say anything because it will spoil. I don't want to do spoilers here. But the visual effects in here were incredible. There was no pixelation, no blurriness whatsoever. I didn't see any problem with the 3D. It just added to the incredibleness. Seriously, it was great 3D here. There hasn't been a decent 3D film here, in a while. And, I mean, the even the close-up camera shots of the Giants were great, especially on them. I mean, they were really ugly, and it was a good PG fantasy film. I do wish it was PG-13, like Hansel and Gretel, but beggars can't be choosers here. All in all, it's a great film. Fun for everyone. I do recommend it, although a little warning: if you're gonna bring the kiddies, if you plan to bring the kiddies, make sure that they're okay with it at first, because there are a lot of possible frightening moments for them and could possibly scare them. I do recommend, making sure they're okay. And as usual, I'm going to whore myself out right now. He's whoring again. Here, hit subscribe right here to my channel if you like my videos. Also, share them, like them, do whatever you want with them. You can also hit me up at GareBear right here on Twitter and on Instagram right here. Right there somewhere. Um, just stay tuned. Next time we're going to go over Into the Yellow Brick Road, into the Oz and Great and Powerful. So stay tuned, guys.